So you come out of school, were
Yep.
you fired up to go into physical therapy, or where'd you go from there?
So when I made grad school like a last minute decision. It was
Hmm.
literally because I didn't want to graduate yet. Like, I was like, no, I still want to be in college.
Hmm.
So I decided I went from because my progression from undergrad was I was going to be a phys ed teacher, and then I was going into athletic training, and then from athletic training, I basically didn't like wrapping ankles and feet all day. I
Hmm.
went into exercise science, and that's when
Okay.
it real that's exercise science. When I had my internship at a YMCA, that's when I saw someone coaching young athletes, and I was like, wow, that's something that I could get into. I was never really introduced to it until then,
Hmm.
and so after grad school, I went back to that same position. I was actually helping doing some side work for the athletic department there. They had a giant program, so I was um, helping run the soccer program and things like that. And then I had a side gig as a personal trainer for a small little studio. And then I just kind of ran with it. And of course, almost everybody coming out of undergrad in exercise science thinks that they're going to work with athletes. And
Hmm.
that was my, I want to work with all of the number ones when in reality they don't
Yeah.
really need you that much. And
Right.
they're the the chasm of people who aren't super athletes is like that. So
Right.
there's much more value. You have much more value to someone who is 65 years old with a hip replacement who just wants to feel good and move better.
Yep.
So once I realized that, I went down. I was still in Illinois at that time. I was working at a club. I think it was just called Club Fitness, and I was a personal trainer there, just getting started. I think we were there for a few months. They wanted to turn me into a personal training manager, which basically meant I'd go from training as much as I want to not to going down to, I think I want to say 10 hours a week of training and then selling packages and managing
Hmm.
that side of the business. And I said, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. In the area that I was in, there wasn't that much opportunity for personal training. So I started looking around. I found a company called Corporate Fitness Works that did corporate wellness programs. So they installed fitness facilities inside of large organizations. The one that I got hired into was in Cincinnati. So I went from the St. Louis area to Cincinnati and was there for 2.5 years as the basically assistant director for that location inside of Humana. So we did wellness programs, uh, wrote exercise programs, and did group classes. And then I really had the itch to get back into one-on-one activity. And so I started working at another small club. And then I was on a run one day and I ran past a studio called Working Out at Adams Landing, owned by Joel Wainscott. And I stopped in and I just introduced myself and started coaching there part time because my full time gig, I either worked from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and I was off for the rest of the day,
Hmm.
or I worked from 11:30 to 7:30 p.m. So
Oh,
I
wow.
could coach like different
Hmm.
on the outside. I could coach when you had pretty flexible. It was pretty nice. So so I was a few months with him, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to open my own thing," because he was paying rent to someone else. He was part owner. Things started to kind of go away. He didn't really care for. He said, "Hey, I'm going to open my own place. Do you want to come with me?" I said, "Yep, let's do it." And I came along with him, brought somebody else with me, and within a few months, maybe let's say 6 to 8 months, I went ahead and resigned from Corporate Fitness Works and I went back into full time coaching at what's called Mission 5 Fitness now. That was back in 2011. So since 2011, I've been full time coaching at Mission 5 Fitness. So
Okay.
we have 7 trainers, I believe, under the umbrella of Mission 5 Fitness, all running their own business that way.
And where does balance fitness and
Oh,
your personal
mhm.
fitness and strength coaching fit into that equation?
So Balance Fitness is I'm kind of the I'm the back end of Balance Fitness. If they need something updated on social media or the something on the website,
Okay.
that's where I come in. Balance
Okay.
Fitness is a 16,000 square foot membership facility on the west side of Cincinnati. So we bought that back in 2016. Me, the owner of Mission Five, Joel Wayne Scott, and another coach there, Ryan Flynn. So we're all co-owners in that. I'm a minority
Gotcha.
shareholder, basically.
Okay. And then, so where does Eric Feigl personal
Mhm.
fitness and strength operate out of?
I do all of my coaching out of Mission 5 Fitness.
Okay, got it.
100%. Yeah. So I have about 40, I guess technically I have 35 in-person clients there.
Mhm.
And I operate from about 5 a.m. to around 2 to 3, mostly half-hour appointments. Um,
Oh,
my
wow.
demographic probably ranges. Um, I think the youngest person that I help is around 38. Oldest is 82. She's my longest running client. She's been with me for the longest also. And everybody's at Mission 5. And then I've
Okay.
got I've got 5 paying online clients.
Okay. Just to pull the thread a little bit more on the business model side of it, how did you go about coming up with 30-minute sessions,
Mhm.
and talk a little bit maybe about how you came up with the pricing for that, and how's that going? Like, is that something that you mapped out, looked at the market, and kind of put a business plan together, or how did you get to that point?
I Now there was no business plan.
Yeah.
Um, so I started. So right now, just
By the way,
I'll tell
that's
you what.
totally normal. I don't think I've know of
Yeah,
any strength
yeah,
coach that says this is exactly what I was going to do, and I
right.
just
Let
went
me
and did
pull up my.
it. Yeah.
No, I've got nothing. It's
For some
no.
reason, there's this interesting combination of the strength coaches I know that have like this combination of no math skills, or like they don't really think in terms of like the P&L, and yet they're very organized mentally and think there's
Yeah,
like there's a right answer to pull up on a book.
isn't it just? I think it's more like a do mentality.
Yeah, yeah,
You just do it. You just do
yeah,
the work. Do
right.
do. And I kind of feel like that's what I was asked on a podcast a couple months ago. What's your 5 to 10 year plan? And I was like, 5 to 10 year plan. I've got like this week
Yeah,
planned out.
right,
But no,
right.
I took a look at the. So this is back in 2011. I took a look at our market. This so I was lucky enough to have Joel come in. He'd already had a full book of clients.
Hmm.
And so when I came into Mission 5, I only had two in-person clients because I just started at his other facility. And I actually was selling a package, which I don't do now, which we can talk about. So I was
Hmm.
basically selling a package. They would say, "Hey, I'll buy 12 appointments, write you a check, and then when that runs out, I have
Right,
to sell again."
right, right.
And there's a relationship involved there. So you do less selling, the better your relationship gets. It just becomes like, "Hey, you're
Yes.
due," and then, but um, I do it a little
I
bit
want
different now,
to
which I enjoy.
double click on that real quick. That I think that's a
Yeah,
huge point. That the less selling you have to do, the better the relationship can be.
yeah,
And those when you're stuck in that cycle of having to sell a package, or another common one I've hear people are kind of stuck in is charging per session, which is like a variation of that. But
mhm.
another one I've seen is like it's reoccurring, but they almost do like a punch card kind of system where it's like, oh,
Okay,
if
yeah,
you come 3 times this week, then I'll charge you this much. But if you only come two, or if you only come one, so it's almost like every single
yeah,
workout becomes a sales pitch almost, or like
yeah.
you're having
That's
to touch
exactly
on
right.
that part of the relationship, and it's really stressful.
Yeah, and I don't like that as much as well, simply because you're like I've had people ask me, do you give should I start offering like for every 12 appointments, should I give one away?
All
I'm
right.
like, no, that's not the benefit. The benefit isn't to have your time for free. The benefit is that you are offering an experience and service.
Mm.
And if you think you have to offer something for free, then the experience and service probably isn't that great,
That's
unfortunately.
that's a great point.
So what what I did when we first started, luckily I had Joel come in and he was like, "Hey, here's what the market is like in our area. This is what I charge now. Here's where I think you should start."
Mm.
And I said, "Yeah, that sounds right." And we ran that. I didn't increase my prices for, man. I think I did. Man, when was the last time? I just did it 2 years ago. Before that was 5 years before that.
Oh, wow.
So I started out with $35 for a half hour appointment, 55 for an hour. And obviously, if you train for an hour but 2 half-hour appointments, you make more money.
Hmm.
So, and then I
Gotcha.
was doing group appointments there also. And I won't get to the details of that. I don't offer group appointments now, honestly, because I don't, they're much more profitable. I
Hmm.
understand that. I don't enjoy them as much. I don't like herding
Hmm.
cats. Like that's what it,
Yeah.
to me, and maybe other people do it really well. It's great. I get it. But in the
Yeah.
place that I'm in, we're not, I mean, you can do it. Everybody, almost every single person there does it except for me. I have a
Yeah.
couple that I've kind of grandfathered in, but I just don't enjoy it.
Mm.
And so I don't do it. But so over time, I now
When you
charge
say,
45.
just quick question on that, when you say group, how many
Yeah.
people are you talking? Like
We go up to four just because we're
four?
limited
Okay.
in
Wow.
space.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when you get seven clients in there at 11 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden they've got like two, even everybody that's two. And where our space is, our working area on the floor, the whole gym is about 3,500 square feet, including locker rooms and our office.
Okay.
So once you get people out there, a couple
Yep.
barbell racks, we've got all the selectorized equipment, dumbbells.
Mm.
It gets thumping, and then you got people stepping over each other, and it's just
Yeah.
the management of it. Um,
Yeah.
so, but so anyway, now I charge 45 for half an hour, 65 for an hour. I've got people grandfathered in that automatically just train for an hour, which is fine.
Hmm.
And I actually haven't taken on any new in-person clients since last December on purpose. So I'm
Wow.
kind of capped. I'm happy where I'm at right now in terms of that. And the last time I increased my rate was back in uh, it was 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. So
And are you thinking about increasing this
I'll
year?
do it. I'll no, I'll do it again probably. I'll probably do it again in 3 years.
3 years.
To be
Wow.
honest,
Okay.
yeah, I'm probably going to do it again in 3 years. Every 5 years right now has worked pretty good.
Hmm.
I'm not worried about scaring people away. I kind of I've set that precedence, and
Yeah.
if something changes, then I'm not scared of pulling the trigger and just saying, hey, now it's going to be in every. I don't even announce it. They don't know when it's coming. I mean, I could do it
Hmm.
this year or next year and be fine, but I haven't done it that way. And then
How does being part of that, the Mission Five, I would
mm,
assume, is helps keep the overhead low? Is that the strategy rather than having, for
yeah,
example, your own brick and mortar space? So
yeah,
it enables
I,
you to charge a lower price.
yeah,
How
it
does
does,
your
and I
business model work there?
it does. So I we don't get a lot of walk in off the street people just because it's location.
Hmm.
Our location is actually very good, but in general, we just don't get a lot of off the street. We get some hits on our website, which work. My personal website gets quite a bit of activity. I'm at a point now where I've got a pretty good referral system working
Oh,
through
nice.
that, which is very helpful. Which will also we can go back to that when we start talking
Yeah.
about the
Well,
online part of
yep.
stuff.
Yeah. We'll put a pin
And
in that for the client acquisition side for sure.
yeah, and then so Joel, without going into too much detail, Joel, we have a cap in how much rent we can pay,
Hmm.
but every appointment to him is $30,
Okay.
and he charges up to a certain percentage of that. It's more if you train with a group. So
Mm,
we make as our we get way more. I mean, I'm bringing in way more than if you work at Urban Active or LA Fitness or something like that, then you're making like $9 to $12 an appointment if they charge
right.
$30 to $40.
Right.
So he's charging. He thinks he just looks at all appointments at a certain rate, charges 30% of that, and then we most of us are maxing out at this point.
Okay.
So we're all yeah. I like and trust me, I've thought about opening my own gym, but then I over the past 14 years now watching Joel, I prefer writing a check. And we help out a lot. We help out a lot. We help
Yeah.
keep the facility clean and still
Yeah.
folding towels and vacuuming and straightening
Yeah.
up and all that kind of stuff. But he just replaced the furnace.
Yep.
That's not cheap. It's just like, oh, I
Yep.
got to pay my rent. Hey, let's pump this place full of heat now.
Yep. Yep.
So I prefer this method, but I definitely appreciate the business owner side of things for sure, brick and mortar side.
So, at what point did online coaching start to become
Mm,
uh, a consideration? I know, I mean, sounds like we were chatting before we hit the record button. You have actually quite a bit of a long
weird,
history of
weird.
online, of being involved in some, or at least trying to be involved in online coaching. But
Yeah.
when did that start to feel like something that was a part of your business model that you wanted to offer, and how did that evolve?
Sure. So to give people just like a real quick snippet,
Yeah.
I started with an organization back in '07, '08 that's no longer around anymore. Started by uh, the business was logsitall.com. Bill Patton started that. So if you type in logsitall.com, it's going to go to his personal website. He's a great dude, but that started back in like the early CrossFit days, and he used that. They used Logs It All to track all metrics. It was like automatic tracking
Mm.
inside of logsitall.com. Fast forward to me moving to Cincinnati, we had the idea of maybe trying to pitch it to gyms, and it never really took off. It was back in '09, '08, '09. And, I didn't even have I had a flip phone. So I was
Yeah.
recording all of my own workout videos on some kind of camera. And then I would take that SD card, plop it in, upload it. Excuse me. It was very, very bare, just bare. And
Yeah.
nobody was taking off. So finally we had a conversation. We're like, hey, I think we just kind of put a pin in this. It just wasn't the right time.
Mm.
Fast forward, I'm working at Mission 5 Fitness, and I have a client who I still coach today, who's an in-person client for, man, 5 or 6 years. And he's like, hey, I'm going to move back to Texas, miss my family. I'm going to go. I'm like, great. I've got this. I was using a different product other than Turnkey Coach. I would love to get you on board and I can keep coaching. He goes, awesome. Let's do it. So ever since then, I've been coaching. That was probably back in 2016, but I never really knew how to scale that side of it. I had a website that was bringing an in-person business, great referral system. So I thought, yeah, that's what people are going to look at, and they'll say, hey, if I don't want to in-person train, then I'll train online with him. So if you look on ericfeigl.com, there's in-person training, there's an online section
Hmm.
that has literally gotten one hit since I've had ericfeigl.com since
Wow.
2008 or 9. Yeah.
Interesting.
But that's where I am now, and I'm up to 5 clients, and I have had this, I guess, because I'm happy with my in-person coaching business.
Mhm.
I've had this very, hey, I want to scale this up, and I hammer it hard. I tell people about it. I'll send out emails, but I never really knew how. I never really knew how to acquire those in-person, those online clients. I was
Mhm.
doing it wrong. I was relying on the website, and that's apparently not where people are looking
Yeah. Yeah.
for online coaches. So, and I'm just now starting to dial that in.
Okay. And when you say you're doing online coaching, what did that look like? I mean, that you're talking a course of almost a decade now. 2016 was you said,
Mm-hmm.
I think, the first one. So I imagine there's been some evolution there. What do you consider online coaching? Because that, people will say, yeah, I do online coaching. That could range anything from a
Yeah.
template that they mail out and an Instagram comment like once a month,
Right.
to live
Um,
in person, or, almost like Zoom call coaching. You see that out there? Like what does your operating model look like?
so when I first started in 2016, I was using True Coach.
Mhm.
And so that was a lot different then. And honestly, I was just programming through it. I wasn't sending, I still have about 115 of my own videos that I would send, and plus some other ones on YouTube or wherever.
Like
And
how-to videos?
yeah, so my own demo videos,
Yep.
not workouts in particular, but
Yeah.
just me describing the movement with,
Mhm.
I try to keep it between 30 and 60 seconds, but actually going through
Mhm.
the motion in some way, machine, barbell, dumbbell, body weight, what have you. And then, waiting for the return of the workout, checking in if they miss a workout, which is huge, not just letting it go and saying, hopefully they'll get it done.
Mhm.
Checking in with them, making sure everything's okay, pushing workouts when they need to be pushed, and then reformatting the next workout. And when I first started it, it was basically word of mouth. And that's how I got essentially the rest of my clients. I've been off of social media for years. I just got back on it within the past, I'll say 365 days, somewhere in
Oh,
there. I
wow.
just started kind
Mhm.
of reposting.
Uh-huh.
And so obviously that's where I need to be, I think, starting to get some traction, but it was word of mouth before that, strictly word of mouth. My friends knew that I did it. They didn't really understand how it worked.
Mm.
Jump on a phone call. Hey, let me set you up. I'll coach you for a week for free. Let's get back on, and then we can go to it. Something interesting though that I kind of messed up on when I first started, I'm still doing this with my first book of online clients, is I was kind of treating it like in-person coaching in my billing.
Mhm.
So if you're an in-person client of mine, Andrew, at the end of every month, if you train with me twice a week, at the end of every month, I send you an invoice for the appointments that you made.
Right.
And you have a date to finish up to pay me. And then we're continuing the training process though. Like I'm not reselling you. We're just going,
Yeah.
doesn't matter how often you watch your TV, they're still going to bill you. Like
Right.
you just keep going.
Right. Right.
So if I would have had that mentality though, I would have gone to a subscription model for online coaching.
Yeah.
Right now, what I'm doing is I'm charging $50 a week for a handful of people.
Mhm.
That like my first group of people that I started with. And if you're going out of town and you have zero access to coaching, like you're like, hey, I'm going to a remote island somewhere that's not going to have any equipment, I'm not going to have cell phone service. I keep you on my book. I don't charge you that week. So in retrospect, I wish I wouldn't have done it that way.
Yeah.
Everybody that I take on now is a subscription model,
Yeah.
around the same price point still, but yeah, I
Yeah,
kind of
that kind of
missed
goes back
that.
to the pricing workshop module I did, where talking about
Mm-hmm.
the difference between the value metric and the usage metric, and making sure you've got clarity around that. And the Netflix example is kind of similar to what you were just saying with TV, where it's like you pay the monthly Netflix
Yeah,
subscription whether you watch 100 movies or you watch one movie.
right.
You want
That's it.
to encourage high usage, or
Yes.
monitor the usage, which I think the equivalent is workouts. If somebody's not working out, that's probably a sign, like a red flag, I think, for
Yeah,
obvious reasons. But I don't want the price or the service model to be dependent on them completing a certain number of workouts.
exactly.
Um, because now you're back into basically that sales thing we were talking about earlier, where now
Yeah.
every month or every workout, it feels like you're in this constant negotiation.